Bill, how does President Trump move beyond this, or how does he work with the states where there are really significant bans in place, which is where this is probably going to be the biggest issue, bottom ticket?
Well, a couple things. Number one, I think he did the right thing this week. I agree with the Dobbs decision. And for the listeners, any powers under the Constitution, any powers not specifically granted to the federal government are the powers of the state. There is no specific grant of power related to abortion to the federal government. So I think the Dobbs decision was the correct legal decision. The politics have been messy for Republicans. I do think the president this week tried to diffuse the issue. I think he's on the right path on this, but he shouldn't have engaged directly in Arizona. And here's why. The voters of Arizona are going to determine what their abortion law looks like. And again, for the listeners, this is not unique. Not every state has a death penalty. Many do, not all. Wisconsin doesn't. Not all states have legalized marijuana. Many do. Wisconsin doesn't. So states do things differently. And on this particular issue, some states will have more restrictive abortion bans, like the heartbeat bills in South Dakota, in Iowa, in Florida. And some will be more generous or liberal, like New York or California. That's what federalism really is. And so I think this is, he has diffused this issue. For Democrats, they need this to be a centerpiece of the campaign to try and drag Joe Biden across the finish line. So I would not engage on every state if I were Donald Trump, other than to say the voters of those states should make that decision, period.
When we come back, more federal issues regarding Trump. We want to talk about what's happening with FISA. There's a lot of turmoil in Congress right now regarding that decision and around that conversation and how it plays into Speaker Johnson. We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene at the center of all of this. We'll discuss when we come back on the Political Power Hour, WTMJ. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Steve Scafidi.
Throughout history, some people have been born into greatness because of their name or family. Others gained greatness because of their actions. On Wisconsin's Morning News, we celebrate everyday heroes, the John or Jane Doe who had no idea when they woke up one morning they'd be saving a life. Everyday Heroes, Thursday at 6:40 on Wisconsin's Morning News. Presented by Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living, transforming the culture of care.
Hey, this is Steve Scafidi for Advent. I had some snoring issues that kept my wife up at night. That led to poor sleep and a lot of tired mornings on the radio, and nobody wants that, trust me. But it's simply, my nose wasn't working the way it should. I decided to go to Advent for a quick 30-minute visit, one of their great facilities, talk to a bunch of their doctors. They really put me at ease. After a really simple sleep study at home, in my own bed, they determined the root cause of my problem had to do with my sinuses and nasal passages in my breathing triangle. I didn't even know I had a breathing triangle, so I went to see Advent. After a short procedure done in office, I'm back to breathing well, and my wife and I are both back to sleeping through the whole night. The best sleep we've ever had, that could be you. If you struggle with restless nights like I did, take the time to see how Advent can help. To find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your life and your nights a whole lot better, go to AdventKnows.com, schedule an appointment today. Because Advent knows, when you breathe well, you live better.
AdventKnows.com. You're back at the gym. Your new gym outfit? On point. Your new sneakers? Baller. You've got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with Access Checking. It's maintenance fee-free with no minimum balance requirements. So when you take your first yoga class in 10 months, your body might surprise you, but your checking account won't. You've got this with Access Checking from Associated Bank. See associatedbank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
Welcome back on WTMJ Political Power Hour. Joe Zepecki and Bill McCoshen, who is on assignment. Starting on the big picture national level. So we saw the FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act Authority Compromise Bill, just narrowly passed in Congress last night, I believe. It was late last night. This is really just playing into the whole idea that there's so much turmoil within Congress and the Republican Party. Joe?
This shouldn't be that hard. And so what has passed now is the rule. So 19 conservative holdouts killed the rule. I think it was the fourth time this Congress a rule has gone down. That's unbelievable. Like, that never happens to that degree. And so I think it likely will get done, but it just kind of it goes to show again the outsized role that Donald Trump has in the Republican Party. He says jump, they say how high, right? There's a great piece of border security legislation. Republicans are saying this is a crisis. Jim Lankford, very conservative Republican from Oklahoma, and Chris Murphy from Connecticut get together and say, okay, here's a really tough border bill. Let's get it done. Donald Trump says, no, I want to run on that issue. And then Republicans scrap the deal. You want to reauthorize a tool that our national security apparatus believes is essential to stopping terrorism at home, and it's on a glide path until Donald Trump goes, no, and now it's a mess. And this is what you get with Donald Trump, and I think there's going to be more of this, reminding folks how much chaos comes with Trump, and I don't think that accrues to his benefit.
Bill, at the same time, you've got Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to unseat Speaker Johnson, trying to ouster him, as we saw several times in the past. And Donald Trump has basically said, okay, guys, Marjorie Taylor Greene, be quiet. We need some unity here. Is this going to work? Is Donald Trump's outsized influence going to actually help with Congress and quiet some of these detractors?
I think they got to be more strategic about it, Tracy, to be honest with you. You can't have these public food fights for Republicans. It looks bad. This Congress has been the most impotent in my lifetime, and that's because the Republicans took out their own speaker, which I was opposed to. Whether you liked Kevin McCarthy or didn't like Kevin McCarthy, he was actually getting things done and in a very slim majority. Now that majority is even slimmer. Until June, it's a one-seat majority. So it is not in the Republican or the president's interest to have disagreement on significant issues like FISA. Mike Johnson, who I'm not a fan of, I think he's a fairly weak speaker, did negotiate or come up with 56 improvements to FISA. That is what should pass over the weekend or today, and the Trump people should be helping him get that done. That is the only leverage they have with the Senate, is to make those improvements. I understand why they would not want to approve or reauthorize the existing FISA, because it was used against an incoming president of the United States and Donald Trump.
No, it wasn't. That has been debunked, Bill. I know Trump believes that, but that's not what happened.
That is what happened. And there's no way you can say anything different than that. So we can't have a system where our own government is spying on our people. So I think these 56 improvements will address that. That's what should pass this weekend.
Well, and hopefully we can talk about some sort of compromise next week on the Political Power Hour. We're going to go to break quick, but I want to ask about one more Trump influence, and that is the endorsement of Tony Weed in the 8th Congressional District. So we'll discuss when we come back. Political Power Hour, Joe Zepecki, Bill McCoshen on WTMJ.
The Upswing with Jeff Sherman.
The mayor comes to you and says, all right, I need 1 million people in 5 years. What's your answer?
Get to know what's going on in the community and businesses throughout Milwaukee and Wisconsin.
I always think about the research that shows that even when people are pessimistic about their city, they love their neighborhood.
I'll tell you, for me, I think if we're going to really get that number, we're going to have to get greater opportunity for the younger generation. And I mean real jobs.
Weekdays from 10 to 11 on WTMJ.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scafidi for the Bath Authority. The Bath Authority provides the highest quality bathroom remodeling products along with a world-class customer experience. Walk-in tubs, replacement showers, tub-to-shower conversions, and so much more. Every unit is custom built. Elevate your bathroom to a new level of luxury, style, and safety. Schedule your free in-home estimate today and get $1,000 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. TheBathAuthority.com. A better bath awaits.
At the Bath Authority.
Make this summer the best one yet. Let Fox World Travel plan your next family vacation. Whether it's a magical Disney escape, an all-inclusive resort in paradise, or a thrilling European adventure, we offer exclusive savings for your family. Enjoy exciting activities, educational experiences, or peaceful retreats where you can relax and recharge with our trusted partners like Globus Family of Brands, Disney, and Insight Vacations. Visit foxworldtravel.com or call 866-GO-FOX-GO to start planning your summer vacation today.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
Did your home suffer damage from a storm or severe weather? Don't stress any longer. Loyal Family Renovations treats all of its customers like they've joined their personal family, and every project as if the work was being done at their own house. Loyal Family Renovations has a leg up on the competition due to the personal relationships they've built with insurance adjusters over the years. Loyal Family is family-owned, and the loyalty belongs to their customers. Contact them today to help make your home remodeling dreams a reality. LoyalFamilyRenovations.com.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio. I swear. I can do a 3-hour show, but this 1-hour stuff is like, woo, it gets your heart pounding.
We keep it moving.
All right, Joseph Pecky, Bill McCoshen. Bill, I'm going to start with you. Donald Trump just this week endorsed Tony Weed, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He is a gas station operator up in the 8th District. You've already got 2 candidates running for Mike Gallagher's vacated seat up in the 8th. How does this play out, and is this going to give Tony a leg up?
So a couple of things. It was unusual and unexpected. Nobody knew much about Tony Weed prior to the president endorsing him. He was promoted by a guy named Alex Bruzewitz, who is an influencer on the Trump side. I'm looking forward to meeting Tony Weed. I've never met him. He's a successful businessman. I think that model works in politics today, the outsider running. But I will say this. The president at least took after one of the other Republicans in the race, Roger Roth. Roger Roth and Andre Jacques, the 2 others who are in this race, are both consistent, reliable conservatives. Full stop. They are not rhinos. Their record in the legislature is 100% conservative on all the issues conservative cares about. But I would say Weed is now the favorite in the race. When you've got the president's endorsement, that has proven to be almost insurmountable in a primary. It doesn't always translate into a general, but again, we talked about this last week. That's a 58% Republican seat. I think the winner of the primary is going to win or replace Mike Gallagher in the 8th Congressional, but Weed now is the favorite. So the other guys are going to have to either decide to stay in or take the battle to Weed to try and get him to make a mistake. But having the Trump base behind you in any congressional district in Wisconsin, maybe with the exception of the 2nd CD in Madison, is a very big advantage in a GOP primary.
You know, as we talked about last week, Bill, as I put it, the only way this really comes into play is a perfect storm, right? It's not a race that Democrats are going to win even 50 times out of 100. One of the things that my side is looking to see is there a race to the furthest ultra MAGA right? And now if you've got somebody like Jacques, who you describe them both, Roth and Jacques, as very conservative, I think the perception is that Jacques is further to the right. And so if you've got somebody like Jacques and somebody like Weed really going all the way to MAGA town, that starts to create an opportunity for a well-funded Democrat like Dr. Kristen Lyerly.
Yeah, and you had talked about her as a fairly formidable candidate last week.
As good a candidate as we've had since Steve Kagan up in that part of the state.
So switching gears, speaking of candidates, Senate candidate Eric Hovde earlier this week made some controversial comments on the Guy Benson show, talking about seniors in nursing homes and should they be able to vote. This was blown up, I think, by left-wing media, but also, it sparked a conversation. Bill, what do you make of those comments? And, has Eric Hovde kind of gone past those at this point?
I think it was a slip on his part. It's part of, being on a statewide stage. It's not easy. You're going to make mistakes early on. I think that's something that he has or will clean up here soon. I think what he was actually referring to was back during COVID in 2020 when we had these assistants going into nursing homes and getting votes from people who may or may not have been mentally capable of voting. So I think there are separate issues. He conflated them, made it seem worse than it is, but I think he'll clean that up. And I think it'll be a blip on the whole political radar screen.
You know what would have avoided the blip is playing footsie with election deniers, right? I mean, Donald Trump again this week lied and claimed he won Wisconsin in 2020. Hovde last week decided to go stand on a stage with him and accept the endorsement. And then, of course, the next day he's hooting and hollering and yelling about, well, I want to look forward, not backwards. Well, you can't. This is what happens to Republican candidates. They get squeezed because they're trying to show just enough that they're with the loony election deniers when they know full well Joe Biden won the state. And so it's a tough spot for Hovde to be in, but it doesn't forgive the fact that you're suggesting people who are eligible to vote under the Constitution of this country and the laws of this state get to cast ballots. And what the problem that the Republican Party has is they've left themselves wide open to all of this with their dalliances with the big lie and election denialism, and it's going to remain a problem for all of them.
But Eric Hovde did create some light in between he and the president. He did accept the endorsement. And when I was looking at this issue as a topic for today's show, I thought it would be a bigger deal. And as Bill said, I think there's so many other things happening in the conversation. I'm not sure it's going to hurt him as much.
The tell will be if anybody spends money getting this message out. I'm not sure they will. We will find out.
All right. More when we come back on the Bill, you want the last word?
Sounds good. Yeah, the last word is I think Hovde had his best day on the trail in the last 10 days, Tracy, and you pointed it out, where he created daylight between him and the president on some key issues. He was the first to say abortion is a states' right issue that the president did, and he said he believes that Biden won, but there were a lot of issues. So.
All right. ABC News and local headlines are next. More when we come back.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The House is now debating and is expected to vote soon on reauthorizing FISA, the law that lets intelligence agencies spy on foreign nationals overseas without obtaining a warrant. FBI Director Christopher Wray telling Congress,
it helps us find out who these terrorists are working with and what they're targeting, and it's what we need to stop them before they kill Americans.
Vice President Kamala Harris is headed to Arizona today to talk about the state Supreme Court decision upholding a Civil War era law that outlaws almost all abortions in the state. Donald Trump will hold what's being billed as a news conference alongside House Speaker Mike Johnson from Mar-a-Lago this evening. On Monday, he'll be a defendant in his first criminal case. Jury selection in the Stormy Daniels hush money trial begins in New York. Baseball star Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter and best friend expected to turn himself in today on charges that he stole $16 million from the Dodger. This is ABC News.
Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 9:31. Breaking news this morning. Maxwell Anderson charged with the death of missing Sade Robinson, as well as the mutilation of a corpse. These charges connected to the human remains discovered both at Cudahy's Warnermont Park as well as Milwaukee's North Side. Press conference scheduled for 10 a.m. in Wauwatosa with Milwaukee County officials, and we will carry that press conference live right here on WTMJ. Man shot and killed by officers in Waukesha Tuesday, identified as 50-year-old Christopher Milokovic. Police say Milokovic was walking away, not complying with orders when officers arrived at the Waukesha CarMax Tuesday morning and tried to apprehend him on a charge of attempted vehicle theft. According to authorities, he was making overt actions consistent with pulling a firearm when officers shot him. It was later determined he did not have a gun. 4 officers involved remain on administrative leave during the investigation. Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors considering overriding County Executive David Crowley's veto of pay raises for 3 top officials. Crowley's veto blocked a 36% salary increase for treasurer, clerk, and register of deeds. Board of Supervisors is meeting today to consider an override, or they could introduce an amended proposal that would call for a smaller salary increase for the 3 positions in 2025. Time for some news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The markets are still down. Dow is down 306 points, 38,152. NASDAQ is down 168. The S&P 500 is down 42. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite, financial planning at every level. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at your roads now with your WTMJ Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. Just a little slow and go still in those construction zones. That would be I-894 westbound. Between the Mitchell interchange and the Hale interchange, that's about a 7-minute drive. And also, we've got Brown Deer Road to downtown. That's about normal, close to normal drive times now, usually about 11 minutes. That's going to take you about 13 minutes this morning. Your WTMJ 5-day forecast, decreasing cloudiness today, windy with a high 58, mostly clear and 40 overnight, sunny and mild tomorrow, maybe an isolated shower at night, highs 64 to 67, Sunday mostly sunny and mild, highs in the upper 60s to the mid-70s, Monday partly cloudy and mild with highs 64 lakeside, 70 inland, and thunderstorms possible on Tuesday with highs in the mid to upper 60s. Right now, Madison at 48, Green Bay 48, Milwaukee 51 degrees. I'm Connie Weber, Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:34.
Carole King, one of the most beloved and successful songwriters of all time.
I feel the earth move under my feet.
The Fireside Theater presents Tony and Grammy Award-winning Beautiful, the Carole King musical. Her story from 18-year-old songwriter of Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow to writing hits for the biggest acts in music to the trailblazing success of her album Tapestry.
And it's too late, baby, now it's too late.
Beautiful features such unforgettable classics as Pleasant Valley Sunday, We Gotta Get Out of This Place, You've Lost That Love and Feeling, On Broadway, The Locomotion, and of course, Unnatural Woman.
You make me feel like a natural woman.
Every ticket to the Fireside includes memorable dining, spectacular gift shops, and free parking. Order your tickets now. Call 920-563-9505 or visit firesidetheater.com. Beautiful, the Carole King musical, through May 26th, only at the Fireside Theater.
There are surgeons lining up to be the one to do your joint replacement. But my advice? Exhaust all your options and put off joint replacement as long as you can. Make it your very last resort, because life after joint replacement isn't always what it's cracked up to be. As high as 30% of patients who have undergone joint replacement surgery report unsatisfactory results. And the cost, even with insurance, can be extraordinary. At Rejuvenex, we'll help ease your pain and improve your mobility with FDA-approved pharmacological treatments that precisely target where your pain lives. And by easing your pain and inflammation, we'll help you live a better life. And because we're in network with most major insurance plans, your out-of-pocket expense could be very affordable. Or nothing at all. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, where we can alleviate your pain and rejuvenate your life.
Rejuvenex. Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
Welcome back to the Political Power Hour. I am your host, Tracy Johnson, and for Steve Scafidi, we've got Joe Zepecki, Bill McCoshen, the original.
The OGs.
The OGs. All right. So President Joe Biden was in Madison this week. He was talking about a new plan to eliminate student debt for something like 300,000 borrowers.
If at first you don't succeed and the Supreme Court says you can't, try again. That's what I always say.
But now you have a bunch of states that are going after it. They're challenging this. What is President Biden trying to do here?
He's trying to get caught trying.
Okay.
I mean, that's the simplest way to put it is, this is a macroeconomic policy choice that you can agree with or disagree with, but that's ultimately what is happening here. It's, on the right, Republicans love to make macroeconomic policy choices to say we're going to cut taxes, therefore consumers are going to have more money to spend. That velocity of money moving through the economy is going to grow GDP and grow the economy and lift all boats. On the Democratic side, what we would say is, well, when you cut taxes the way that Republicans have done it, the majority of that goes to those at the very top. They don't spend anymore. They don't buy that third yacht or fourth truck. What we say is, The folks who have a lot of student loan debt are more likely to, if you can forgive some of that, they've got that extra $300 a month, they can go spend that money in the economy, get that money in circulation. So it's a macroeconomic policy choice. It's not going to go into effect before the election, but this way Joe Biden has been caught trying to deliver on a promise he made when he ran in 2020.
But Bill, isn't all this consternation and all of this infighting and him fighting this battle that he knows he cannot win actually losing younger voters?
I give Joe credit by using the phrase getting caught trying, because I think they understand that they can't legally do this. I think they understand that it is not popular with the greater voting population nationally. And frankly, it hasn't moved the needle with young people. On the most recent national polls, Donald Trump's actually winning among the 18 to 30 age demographic. So this has not moved the needle for Biden. What I found more interesting about it, Tracy, is where he did it. He came to Dane County. And this is really important for people who follow Wisconsin elections. For Democrats to win statewide, they need to roll up significant margins in Dane County and Milwaukee County. In 2020, Joe Biden won Dane County by 180,000 votes. 180,000 votes in one county. That was his margin of victory. So why would he come to Dane County? Because he knows that margin is shrinking. The young voters are not fired up about him. Even if they come back home, so to speak, and vote for him in November, it won't be in numbers that he needs to create that 180,000 vote margin. So if a Democrat's coming to Dane County in the state of Wisconsin, they are losing. They're not winning. That is not a good sign for their overall campaign, and it's the second time Joe Biden has been to Dane County in the last 12 months. So I would say it's actually a sign of a weak campaign, not a sign of strength.
I smell a side bet between Bill and I. I will say that he will match or exceed his Dane County margin in 2024. You want to put lunch on it, Bill?
Done.
There you go.
Well, and so to that point, though, obviously Dane County is probably the fastest growing county in Wisconsin. So you're going to have different numbers to look at in that regard. But I go back to the primary when you had all those voters voting uncommitted. And is that going to pick up steam, do you think, especially as we look at the international conversation around Israel and what's happening in Gaza?
I don't. In fact, I spoke to an uncommitted primary voter, uninstructed primary voter this week who said, I'm not going to vote for Trump in the fall. I'm going to vote for Biden. They know that if Trump was president right now, what's happening in the Middle East would be even worse. They feel like they have very few opportunities to let their voice be heard on sort of national security, foreign policy stuff. And it's what I said last week. I think if you vote uninstructed, you're a pretty savvy voter who's paying attention. Those folks will come back home, and there's not as many of them as Trump needs to come back home on the Republican side.
Bill, as you see more issues abroad, and Joe Biden, I think, many say not handling this situation aptly, is this going to be more of an issue even in Dane County?
I think it is going to be an issue, and I don't know that those voters come home. Joe's certainly more familiar with them than I am, but I think the situation in the Middle East is likely to get far worse before it ever gets better, and none of it's going to be resolved before November 5th. So if this remains a significant issue for people on the far left, and it definitely is a driving issue in Michigan, I think it's one of the reasons Trump is not only leading in Michigan, but now the favorite to win the state of Michigan. So we'll see how this plays out over the next 6.5 months. But I think this is a real issue for Biden. You can tell because he's trying to, admonish Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. He's trying to call for a ceasefire. What he should be calling for is the release of the hostages, full stop. That's what a president of the United States should be calling for, and Israel shouldn't stop until we get those hostages released.
Bill McCosh and Joe Zepecki on the Political Power Hour. When we come back, big announcement by Supreme Court Justice Ann Walsh Bradley. She is not running for re-election. What does this mean for 2025 and the shape and form of the Wisconsin Supreme Court? More when we come back on WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scavini for Adair Floors, ADAIR Floors and Remodeling, South 27th Street in Franklin. have been in business for 65 years. I just worked with their design team on a beautiful new basement landing area, sort of the wood plank look, replace an old, grungy, dingy linoleum floor. They can help with all your flooring and remodeling needs for your home or business. Family owned and operated right there in Franklin, South 27th Street. Stop in and tell them Scafidi sent you, or visit them online at AdairFloors.com.
You're gonna love it, you're gonna love it all when you shop at St. Vincent de Paul. Old things, new things here for you. We're always changing, we're always new. So many friendly people, smiles from wall to wall. You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul. You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
To only breathe in but never breathe out is neither natural nor healthy. The same goes for the breath of life the Holy Spirit gives to the followers of Christ. Dr. Leo Sanchez tells how the Holy Spirit breathes life into the church so that the church can breathe that life out to the world with the love of Christ. This week on the Lutheran Hour.
The Lutheran Hour, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WTMJ.
Tune in on Sundays at 10 a.m. for the AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show. Join AccuNet's Brian and David Wickert for the most up-to-date information on mortgage trends, along with timely news on the real estate market. The housing market is in flux, but the national headlines don't often fit local market conditions. Find out what's really happening on the front lines of real estate and mortgage financing in Wisconsin and make better decisions by tuning in every Sunday at 10 a.m. The AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian and David Wickert on WTMJ.
The Midwest's best baseball and softball training facility and retail center is here in New Berlin, and it's ready for you and your team. From little leaguers to hardcore players and trainers, this is the place you'll want to be.
You can't beat Burkhart.
A Brewers Group outing is the best way to celebrate any special occasion. Birthday parties, anniversaries, or bachelor parties. You can count on the Brewers to host. Brewers account reps make your day at the ballpark a breeze. Plus, get set up with customizable tailgate spaces, seating blocks in your favorite spot at American Family Field, and much more. Start planning your group outing now at brewers.com/groups.
John Mercure here with Ann Peplinski, who tells me Sidex Window Siding and Baths turned her nightmare bathroom into a gem.
It looks beautiful. My bathroom was the ugliest bathroom ever. They did a very good job in 2 days, and I still can't believe it.
Sidex, out with the old, in with the new.
It is such a good feeling.
Get in touch with my guys at Sidex, S-I-D-E-X, Sidex, SidexRemodel.com. It's Sidex.
Welcome back to the Political Power Hour. Just a quick reminder that at 10 o'clock sharp, a WTMJ 620 will be holding the press conference of Maxwell Anderson, who was charged with the killing and dismembering of 19-year-old Milwaukee woman Sade Carlina Robinson. So that will be held at 10 o'clock. So we got to get out here right before 10 o'clock. All right. Joe and Bill. This week, we had breaking news, very unexpected news, I think, that Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Ann Walsh Bradley will not be running in 2025. Bill, what does this mean for the court, and can the Republicans take this seat back with Brad Schimmel already entered in on the, I don't want to say the conservative side, because this is not a partisan race?
So it seems like every week is jam-packed with news. This is actually the biggest news of the week in the state of Wisconsin, in no uncertain terms. Ann Walsh Bradley's been on the court for more than 25 years. I want to thank her for her service, wish her well in retirement. I do know her. I know her husband, who's been a board of regent. But here's what it does. Ann Walsh Bradley had announced months and months and months ago that she was going to seek re-election. Liberals finally got the majority for the first time in 15 years in last April with Janet Protasewicz. They have a 4-3 majority on the court. Her not running opens up one of those seats. And Joe knows in politics, open seats for statewide offices is very, very rare. But it makes them more winnable for people who enter that race. So we've got 3 names in already. Brad Schimmel's in, the former attorney general, now judge in Waukesha. Chris Taylor, a judge in Dane County, is likely to get in over the next 4 or 5 days. Another Dane County judge is likely to get in. But don't be surprised if there ends up being 6 or 7 names in this race because it's an open seat over the course of the next few months. Doesn't mean that we'll all file nomination papers in January, but you might see more people kicking the tires because of the fact it's an open seat. It makes it more winnable. The stakes couldn't have been higher anyway. This was going to be a $50 million plus race. The Protasewicz-Kelly race was $53 million. This will exceed it. Hopefully not by a factor of 2, but it might. This could be a $100 million race. So Schimmel is the conservative candidate in at this point in time. Again, he's run statewide twice before. He won for attorney general. He lost narrowly for attorney general. So he's got a statewide infrastructure and name ID. We'll see what his fundraising's been so far this year. That's going to be a key indicator. But I think now conservative donors are going to start to pay more attention to this because they've seen what the liberal majority can do with the Supreme Court. This, in some ways, may be the most important race in Wisconsin in the next 12 months. That includes the presidential and the U.S. Senate race. Sorry to those guys. But it's for all the marbles, and you're going to see both sides load up for that reason.
I'm going to yes, but what Bill said. So generally speaking, Bill is absolutely correct. In almost every campaign, if it is an open seat, it is viewed as more competitive than it would have been otherwise. Mm-hmm. The caveat with these court races is Ann Walsh Bradley hasn't had an election since 10 years ago. I mean, 2014 seems like it might as well be 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
And so
ideologically, too, just as far as the state goes.
Right. There's just like a little bit less of that built-in advantage, right? Mm-hmm. When you're a governor, you're sort of in people's living rooms and in their kitchens every week on the radio or on TV. So there's a little bit less of an advantage to the incumbency. So I don't want to like make too much of that. I think it is noteworthy, no question. The night that Janet Protasewicz won was when I heard Ann Walsh Bradley say, we're going to run it back. I think if she had won, which in her statement she says she believes she could have won again, but it's time for a new chapter, she would have then surpassed and become the longest serving justice in Wisconsin state history. And we wish her well in retirement and in her next chapter. I have no doubt that progressives will identify a candidate or candidates to make a really strong run at this. I think Bill is absolutely right that the amount of money you're going to see is going to be absolutely bananas. And I will go so far as to say what happens in November is going to have the biggest impact on what happens in April 4 months later. What we saw 14 out of the last 17 statewide elections have been won by the left here. And I really think that was a response to November of 2016, Trump winning, and it really energized the left. Depending on what happens with Biden v. Trump and who wins the presidency, that will have a big impact. If Biden is reelected, maybe the right will really come out for whoever the conservative candidate is. I'll say this, if Trump wins in November, I think there's almost no way that a progressive doesn't win in April.
Wow, that's a great take. I mean, in terms of so just like
because these things kind of snap back, right?
Yeah.
And as they should. People respond to one election. They don't want one side to win all the time. There is some of that happens even here in Wisconsin.
But just like the Republicans are taking note, and they took note the night after Janet Protasewicz win, do you think that there will be as much attention from the progressive side in terms of the fundraising? I mean, this was the top of the top mountain battle that they needed to win.
I do,
Janet Protasewicz.
and I'd let Bill speak to this as well. When you think about the donors who give these enormous amounts of money, they've made an investment, right? And so they spent all this capital to get a progressive majority on the court. They don't want to say, okay, I'll just pick up my ball and go home now that we've had it for 1 year, because the work of those who want to see a more progressive Wisconsin is not done. So I don't think they're going to walk away.
Bill, last word?
Agree with Joe, yeah, but it also woke up conservative donors who might not have been crazy about Daniel Kelly. They now see what it looks like with a liberal majority and how many conservative reforms are at risk, and I think they're going to open their checkbooks. It's going to be the most expensive Supreme Court race in Wisconsin history, no doubt.
I feel like we say that every Supreme Court race and every election. It's the most important election ever. We just keep building on that. All right. We'll be back with the grab bag on the Political Power Hour. It's 9:52 on WTMJ.
WTMJ's John Mercure here. Join me as we count down to the RNC in Milwaukee. We'll talk to the biggest names across the political landscape.
From the Wisconsin Alliance for Civic Trust, David Haynes.
The incidence of actual voter fraud is very, very, very small. I've seen it said before that there's way more credit card fraud than there's voter fraud, and we still use credit cards.
Right, yeah.
Full podcast available on WTMJ.com or text RNC to 855-616-1620 and get a link sent directly to you. It's the countdown to the RNC podcast, only here on WTMJ.
I'll say it again. Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. And what that means is wherever we go, we make it better for those in need of our services and the great people we have working with us. Our reputation matters. It matters to us, and it should matter to you. We believe that operating with integrity will set us apart from our competitors, and that this attracts people to us that share these same values. I say this because I want you to know when you work with Semper Fi, character counts. It's why you can count on the industry's hands-down best lifetime workmanship warranty that now includes free annual inspections. And it's why we always have one project manager per job, which is absolutely not the industry standard. When you're paying for a brand new roof to go on what's likely the biggest investment you have, you want it done right, and you want to be able to count on the people doing it. This is Brad Younglith with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
Keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
When you're due for tire service, visit richlands.com for the location nearest you.
We'll give you a free flat tire repair on every tire we install. No questions asked. I'm Brett Matchke with Richlands. You're due for service.
Richlands.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Stay and play in Lake Geneva, the Midwest's premier golf destination. With 10 challenging courses for all abilities and skill levels, breathtaking views, crystal clear lakes, and rolling fairways. Enjoy an all-inclusive golf getaway with luxurious lodging, distinctive dining, and a relaxing spa. Plan a group golf outing, a corporate event, or a weekend getaway with friends or family. For course information and more, go to visitlakegeneva.com. Lake Geneva. It's always been the place for legendary golf.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Welcome back to the Political Power Hour. We have one more quick segment, and we call this the Grab Bag. We're going to start with Bill. What's on your mind? What's in your bag?
I'm on assignment. I'm on assignment in Eau Claire, as you've told the listeners. I am actually in the city of Altoona at the River Prairie Development. This is a highly successful tax incremental district that the city of Altoona started 12 years ago. They're going to be able to close it early. It's a mixed-use development, a retail, housing, shopping, commercial. It's outstanding. So congrats to Altoona. And then a shout-out to one of our listeners from Eau Claire, Paul Geyer. He's the regional president from Adams Publishing Group, who owns the Eau Claire Leader Telegram up here. He was at the Eau Claire Eggs and Issues this morning, and he said, "Are you the Bill McCoshen that's on the radio on the Political Power Hour on Friday?" And I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "I listen every week." So we've got fans in Eau Claire, Tracy.
Wow.
Love it.
And he got your autograph and everying? Picture?
No, he wanted mine.
Oh. Other guy. Joe, what's in your grab bag?
You didn't ask for that.
I got a quick one. For those watching the live stream, I've got a goat on my shirt. Was down in Chicago with my better half this week, and we ate at The Girl and the Goat. Fantastic, can't miss restaurant. If you are in Chicago looking for a fun night out, trivia relating to Top Chef Wisconsin, the owner of Girl and the Goat was a contestant on, I think it was season 3 of Top Chef, and used some of that acclaim from being on the show to start this restaurant. It's goat themed, just every dish better than the last. If you're in Chicago, West Loop area, check out Girl and the Goat. It's incredible.
And it's all goat. It's all
Not
goat.
all, but mostly.
And
right?
the shirt is adorable, by the way.
It's a cute little goat.
It is the most adorable shirt.
And on the back it says Chicago Goat. Let me tell you, it takes a lot for me to wear Chicago anything, but this restaurant is incredible. Thanks, honey, and check it out if you're in Chicago.
Fantastic. Thanks for being with us. I will be back next week. I think, God willing, I will be back hosting it for Steve Scafidi on the Political Power Hour. Stick around. The upswing is after the news conference regarding the charges that have been filed in this dismemberment case. Thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend, everyone. The news is next.
Welcome to our Everyday Health feature brought to you by the Freighter to the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network. We all know the importance of wellness and keeping healthy and understand the effect that it has on all aspects of our life. To help us understand how a primary care physician can help us stay healthy and well is Dr. Sabrina Hoffmeister. Dr. Hoffmeister is a family medicine physician who practices at the Freighter to the Medical College of Wisconsin Forest Home Health Center. Dr. Hoffmeister, thank you so much for being with us.